Hello. All right. We're back. Welcome back to my channel. If you're coming back, if you're new here, my name is Sarah Petruno. I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I have been practicing shamanism in this lifetime since 2013 for 9 years. And I've had a blog way back when, and I also had a YouTube channel, which is why you're probably like, why does she have so many subscribers and not a lot of videos? It's because I used to have a YouTube channel years ago. I deleted it due to some bullies, and now I just don't care, and I'm back because my spirit guides really want me to come back and start sharing this information with everybody, and there feels like there's some kind of sense of urgency to it, and sense of urgency with getting this information out there. Perhaps it has to be with people who are awakening, perhaps it has to do with what's happening in the world and like the need of shamanic assistance and shamanic guidance and like reawakening of these shamanic abilities. I don't know. I work for spirit guides, and they want this channel, and they want me talking about shamanism to you all. So like this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, if you're interested in learning more about all things shamanism and shamanic healing and energy work and spirit messages and that sort of thing. In this video, what we're going to talk about is shamanic journeying and what it is. In my past several videos that I've been doing, I have been saying that I'm going to do a video on like dedicated video describing what a shamanic journey is and how it works. And also I want to share some tips for like how to more easily drop into a shamanic journey space. It's something that I've been doing forever. It took me a long time to be able to do and be able to drop in very quickly. Now I can get into a journey in like 30 seconds. But I know a lot of people can't do that yet. And so I want to share some tips with being able to train yourself and train your body to be able to go into this journey state. Okay. So we're going to talk about what is a journey, how it works, how to do it, and how to get there, how to get yourself into a journey space. Okay. So my background is before this, before shamanism, I was a graduate student getting my PhD. I was heavily involved in scientific research. I have published articles to that effect, journal articles. I was full in scientific community. I was a researcher. I managed labs, university labs. I taught experimental psychology. The first part of my life was 100%. I was going to be a scientist. I was going to have my own lab. I like slept at labs because I was like full in on experiments. So when I came to shamanism, it was difficult for me because so much of shamanic healing requires us to trust in that which doesn't have physical measurable data, physical measurable things we can see. And one of the biggest barriers that I see in my students and in teaching shamanism is that people they have a really hard time separating from the physical reality so that they can enter into this journey space. Okay. They have like such a grip on like being able to see and like, only like their brain is like so fixed on, being able to believe only things that they can see and only to let themselves believe what they can see, that journeying can be incredibly difficult, especially in the beginning, because you really have to allow yourself to fully surrender and separate and like go into the space that you've never gone into before, likely, at least in this lifetime, and into the space that like doesn't have, it's totally different than the physical realm. And so what is a shamanic journey? So a shamanic journey is when you get into this it's essentially a meditative trance state. Okay. Where you are deep into this meditative space where you are able to separate your light body, your spirit body, your energy body, like we've talked about in other videos. Where did I put my marker? Right, so we have, let's see if you can see this. So we have, here's our three bodies, right? Our spirit body, our energy body, our physical body. And like we've talked about in other videos, shamanism works here in our spirit and energy body, okay? I combine these two together into our light body, okay? So this is like these two combined. Our spirit and our energy make up our light body. And so you're not fully separating from your physical body where all of your energy and all of your spirit is going, but a shamanic aspect of you is, okay? And the shamanic aspect of you travels in your light body into the non-ordinary realms, like we've talked about in other videos. And I'm going to put the other shamanic realities video below, a link to that, because it's kind of important to understand like where you're going in a shamanic journey. But essentially what a shamanic journey is you are getting into this state where you are able to travel and essentially detach, separate from the physical world, from your physical body, and enter into these non-ordinary shamanic realms, where you're able to journey through those realms, and see things clairvoyantly, experience things intuitively, see things, feel things energetically, and also ideally heal and explore those realms for the purposes of healing. Okay, so the shamanic journey is this trance state that a shamanic practitioner or you can get into to travel through these realms for the purposes of healing. Okay, and so that's essentially what a shamanic journey is. It's a meditative trance state in which you're traveling through non-ordinary realms. Now, a big question I get is, how is this different from astral travel? It's kind of not, but it is. So astral travel is a similar situation that usually happens when you're sleeping and usually is uncontrolled. Usually someone is astral traveling while they're asleep. They have no idea that they're doing it, and they wake up and they've they've been somewhere. Astral travel can be a little bit dangerous because you're not setting up a dedicated anchor to the physical world. Whereas in a shamanic journey, when you're going into this meditative state, you are grounding your energy, you're anchoring your energy here in the physical world, you're creating a grounding anchor and a cord here, and you're opening up a protective light around yourself, a protective bubble around yourself. You're protecting your light body before you're entering into this shamanic journey state. Okay, astral travel, generally you're not doing those things, so it can be a little bit dangerous because you can be just floating around the middle world, for example, or floating around who knows what other realms, like non-healing realms. So it's like a similar concept in that your spirit, your soul, your energy body is moving around these ethereal planes, these etheric planes, but shamanic journeying is more intentional and more controlled, where you're specifically journeying to specific places, where your spirit guides are journeying with you. Usually in a shamanic journey, you're not journeying by yourself. I actually would recommend never doing that. In my video where I talk about lower world journeying, you do journey by yourself, but then you go and meet a power animal, and then after that, your power animal is going with you. So I'd especially never recommend journeying by yourself, especially in the middle world. Usually when you're journeying, your spirit guides are coming with you, and or your power animal is coming with you, ideally both. So it's like you're journeying through these realms you're well protected, you have a firm anchor here in the physical world, so you're not getting lost in the other realms. And your spirit guides are going with you for the purposes of journeying through these etheric realms to explore other parts of reality. Most of the time, it's with the intention that you're going to receive healing or heal an aspect of yourself there. Sometimes it may just be a journey to help you understand and give clarity to what you're experiencing in the physical a little bit better. Because sometimes what is revealed in a shamanic journey can help you make sense of something that you're seeing physically in the world. Okay, because there's other things happening in other realms. So shamanic journey is like this controlled, intentional, you're grounded, you're protected, you are separating and you're entering into the etheric planes with your soul and energetic body, with an aspect of your soul and energy body. So that's a journey. That's a shamanic journey. Now, in the beginning, this can be incredibly difficult to do, especially if you've never meditated before, and it can be incredibly difficult to do, especially if you're someone who's a more analytical, science, math type of background, more of a right-brained, I think it's right-brained, more of like an analytical type, a type A type of person. It's generally harder to do because there's this more rigid mindset that's fixed in as I need to be able to see and prove and tangibly experience this in order to believe it, in order to go. And so what can be really difficult about shamanic journeying, especially when you're first starting, is allowing yourself to kind of venture into these realms where you don't know what's there, and where you may see things that you aren't prepared to see, and your mind doesn't want to allow you to see, right? Your ego self. Now, what I recommend in journeying is, especially when you first begin, and you'll learn about this more and more as you like kind of get deeper into this. It's something called being a hollow bone in shamanism, which means that you want your ego self to kind of be separate from you as you're doing this, so that you can be more of a conduit for spirit. And so when I first started doing this and journeying, what I would do is I would ask my ego self to step out of my body when I went on the journey, so that it was easier for me to experience and perceive things that was something that my ego self wouldn't want me to do or wouldn't want me to experience. And that started making it easier. So that's a tip for you, basically, is when you first start, number one, you're going to want to ground your energy, make sure that you're grounded, make sure that you're protected, and ask your ego self to step out for the duration of the journey. And I just imagined this aspect of myself kind of stepping out and standing behind me, and then I'd come back and they could step back in. But this allowed it to make it easier, because the ego, that aspect of you, can make it more difficult for you to like go into these other realms, because it's like, it doesn't, it wants facts, figures, things that can be measured physically, and not things that you're going to be experiencing in these other realms. Okay. Other barriers that I've noticed that people have with journeying is like they can't see anything. And a big barrier to this, well, there's several reasons why that is, and I have like we can talk for hours about this, but I won't go super into that. But sometimes in the beginning of journeying, you're going to have to force yourself to make things up, because you just kind of have to start opening the channel for you to start receiving information in these etheric and non-ordinary realms. And a way that you start doing that is just by kind of making things up and starting to let that information flow. And when you're making things up, almost always it's like not made up. It's like actually information that is in these other realms, but you think you're making it up. But it's like almost never made up. Even now, if I like am just pulling in, I'm just like talking sometimes, and I just like throw out random examples. They're not random. They're like meaningful to whoever I'm talking to usually. And so when we pull things up or like just pull things out of thin air, that's actually something that's there. Okay. So how to almost get consistent in a journey space so that it's easier for you to drop in, because I know that some people really struggle with like, okay, I'm going to sit down and meditate, I'm going to go on this journey, and I'm having a really hard time kind of getting into that space. Some things I recommend are creating a consistent space for you to journey in, a spot that you're always going to do your journeys in. Within shamanism, some shamans talk about this and how every shaman needs a spot, which is like your safe anchor to the physical world. And this is one of the reasons why. And I recommend having a dedicated spot that you're doing journeying in, and you don't really do journeys in another spot. And when I first started doing this, I didn't have like a whole room. I made like a corner of my bedroom, basically a chair, that I would do all of my journeys in. And now I like to journey on the floor. So I have a pillow that I sit on, that I do all of my journeys in that specific spot. And so what we're doing here is we're creating cues for your physical body and your mind and your brain and your spirit body to say, okay, she's taking these steps, she's getting set up for a journey. So this is like you're conditioning yourself. You're basically, so way back when in my old life, I was an expert in conditioning and operant conditioning. And I was like an expert in training rats. So those techniques are kind of taken from there, is you're wanting to condition yourself so that once you start putting these cues in place, like I'm sitting in this spot, I'm taking this body position, I'm burning this incense, I'm diffusing these essential oils, I'm getting the ritual together that I'm going into a journey. The more cues that you can give yourself and condition yourself ahead of you doing the journey, it's going to help get your mind and your body and your spirit in a space where it anticipates and knows she's getting ready to go into a journey, or he's getting ready to go into a journey. So over time, I have created like a ritual of the steps that I take to get ready to go into a journey. And so for me, I have a specific spot. I have like essential oils that I use. Sometimes I burn incense. I have a specific body position that I sit in. So I sit on the floor, but I sit with my palms facing upward on my knees. As a receptive position is what I call it. And if you're sitting in a chair, you can do that same. Palms facing upward on your knees, so you get into the same body position. So consistent body position, consistent location, consistent ritual and cues. To cue, all these things are cueing and conditioning yourself to get into this meditative trance state. Okay, then I recommend that you're listening to something or playing some kind of music. In the beginning, when I first started doing this, I was like anti-drumming. I don't know why. I was like so resistant to this, that anything that I considered strongly shamanism, I didn't want in my life because I was so resistant to it. So I did not listen to drums for a long time. Now I can, and so now I will sometimes journey with drums, but I even kind of find them distracting sometimes now because I learned to journey just by listening to music, and not instrumental type music. Or just general meditative music is what I would listen to when I was doing this. So you're setting up like your environmental cues. Okay, you're getting in your position, you're having a dedicated spot, you are having like ritual things that you're setting up to get yourself ready to journey, you're listening to music. So you're setting up as many things as possible to cue your body that you're getting ready to go into this meditative state. Okay, then once you're sitting down to meditate, you're going to ground your energy. If you don't know how to do this, it's as easy as visualizing a cord coming from your root, going down into the earth and anchoring into the earth. Okay, then you're going to call on your spirit guides, even if you do not know who they are yet. You're going to call them in, okay, and you're going to ask that they protect you and form a light circle around you. Okay, and then you're going to listen to some music or listen to some drumming, and then you're going to go on a journey. And where you journey to, I recommend starting with the lower world or the upper world. I will have, by the time this video is published, I will have how to do a lower world journey on my YouTube. If you don't know even what to do in the beginning, even just listening to some drumming and just allowing yourself to just listen to it and see what happens, that is also a way to start. But if you want to direct it, you can go to the lower world, you can go to the upper world. I wouldn't recommend for a beginner going to the middle world because that's sketchy right now and always. So yeah, that's how you do it. That's what a shamanic journey is. It's a meditative trance state that you get into, and your light body, an aspect of your light body, your soul and energy body, travels to these non-ordinary realities for the purposes of understanding the world or for healing. And typically you're doing that with spirit guides, your benevolent spiritual allies. I think that's it. So, and we went over tips and what is a journey. And that's that, guys. All right. Hope that was helpful. Bye.